Om Shanti. Good evening. Welcome to this session of interview with the Raj Yogi. And our topic is true actions leading to true happiness and actually power as well. So before we get into the topic, let's start with a reflection. I turn my attention inwards to observe my own thoughts. This is the first level of action. The seed of all other actions is the act of thinking. How I think determines how I feel, and how I feel shapes how I react or respond. So I observe my thoughts. And as I watch my own thoughts, I ask myself, how many of the thoughts are shaped by what's going on outside? Events in the outer world, even the physical body is part of outside. Different tasks, different timelines, different roles, responsibilities, relationships, different issues. How much of that consumes my thoughts? And how much of my thinking is born from inside, based on my true self, my true nature, coming from that single point of awareness. I am a soul, a being of peace. I am eternal, completely free. How much of my thinking comes from that place? Am I thinking from the inside out or from the outside in? Again, knowing those thoughts are the seed of other actions. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. And welcome to Interview the Raj Yogi. So this particular topic was actually inspired by a slogan: performing right actions, you will attain happiness and power. And it's really interesting because you hear the word right actions, and usually everyone sort of jumps to the happiness and the power. That sounds really great. And then, however, a lot of times we're actually experiencing sorrow. So in this context of this slogan, what does right action mean? And of course, it was lovely, the commentary.
So if I use the example of the physical body, for example, the posture or alignment, there are certain principles of alignment that really apply to everybody. We call them sort of absolutes, that it's true or right. And so the bones stacked a certain way, and then the body would be pain free or happy. So that's with the body. And the same kind of applies spiritually as well. There is an ideal way for us to operate spiritually, which is aligned with our eternal or original nature. And when we operate aligned with that absolute state of well-being, then there is happiness.
Do you feel then that when we don't identify ourselves as spiritual beings, that we may have, on maybe a subconscious level, a sort of a default way of how we think we should operate? And so we never really think about that us driving things from the inside.
I think, yes, that we can become so used to operating a certain way that we think it's normal or natural, but certainly familiar. And for the most part, our thinking is very reactive. It's not really even connected to the right way of thinking about ourselves. We've, developed this sense of self that's shaped by the externals, which are ever changing. And we think that's right. We think that's the way it's supposed to be. And so then we develop thinking that's based on that awareness. And again, we say, well, it's completely normal to think that way in that situation or to act that way. We can understand why you got angry or why we just feel that's natural. That's human nature. But actually, it's a bit unnatural. And deep down, the reason we try to rationalize it is because deep down, I don't think we are quite comfortable with what we're doing, no matter how much we feel it's right or natural. Deep down, if I keep rationalizing, it's always a sign that something is not quite right inside.
Is it possible that our conscience bites so much and we don't even know it?
I think, again, I'd have to use the metaphor of the physical body. The way most of us use the body, we're doing a lot of things that actually would be painful, but we've almost become numbed or perhaps used to the discomfort. So we don't notice it anymore. It's still there. The body's still screaming out. And over a long period of time, eventually there's a crisis, but we've become used to it. We'll sit for hours barely moving at the computer. That is the worst thing for the body, and yet we've completely become numb to these little cries. So also, I think, yes, we perform actions that aren't really aligned with well-being. The conscience is crying out, but we've become a bit numb. We've really suppressed it into our subconscious. So it's, we feel a little off, or we certainly are used to using distractions so that it becomes a little numb.
Could it come to a point then where we actually discount the impact of making decisions, doing certain things that are completely against our standards, but there seems to be a very, very visible gratification, like you get a promotion position, you get a lot of money, or you get a lot of approval.
I think, yeah, that's around probably the most interesting topic with this, which is the pursuit of value. And again, we've developed a very externalized sense of self. So our pursuit of value has become very externalized as well. So it's amazing how you can dangle certain things in front of us and we will react or pursue them, even though we're performing actions that are not just not true, but actually are kind of diminishing our true value, diminishing our self-respect. So we'll compromise, we'll lose integrity. if the money's right. Money always confuses the issue. So yes, I think the value piece really muddies the water.
It's tricky when we become numb to what is value.
And a huge part of spirituality is kind of where, getting that, removing that numbness so I can realize again where true value lies and actually experience it.
So I know we didn't include it just because the title was getting too long, but again, the slogan was right actions, you will attain happiness and power. So where does power fit into all of this?
Well, the feeling is that if we don't perform right actions, and we mentioned one example earlier, we actually rationalize, but some kind of waste is going on. Overthinking is going on. This leakage is going on. So I'm actually diminishing my power. Whereas when the actions are true or right, clean heart is a happy heart and a powerful heart, because there isn't that waste. There's that saying, that when you're true, you don't even have to think about it anymore. But when we tell one lie, then we have to keep telling a pack of lies to sustain that lie. So there's a lot of energy. So a clean heart really helps to maintain my power.
But what does it mean then, heart or maintaining my power? Because I think many think of power in a very externalized way.
When we talk about power, we're ultimately talking about the power of purity, or the power to benefit. And the minute that I start to diminish, no longer have the clean heart, then that sense of self starts to diminish. I don't have really pure feelings towards the self. So again, that power of purity is diminishing.
What do you feel then about the power of purity? What impact can it have on others or myself?
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about the power of purity is that and again, this has to do with less waste, is it can achieve a lot with very little effort. So just to be a pure, positive presence, don't have to say or do much of anything, just to be a pure and positive presence, to have pure attitudes will transform the atmosphere, and the atmosphere affects us all. Right now, in this city where we are, Calgary, there's an event going on, and everyone is doing very abusive things to the body, actually. And I remember last night feeling, it was a very distinct feeling, the lack of power, that souls were actually being drained by what they're doing. They think that it's enjoyable and exciting, but I could actually feel the lack of power reducing in the city. And I had to make a conscious effort to maintain my own purity, my own enthusiasm, my own power, to not be affected by the atmosphere.
So even though it's invisible, it's something that everyone values.
It deeply affects us.
It's interesting that no one actually wants to be influenced in any way. I guess you can say maybe negatively influenced, and not being able to see the value of the power of purity. I mean, it's not really a day-to-day conversation someone has.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think in some ways we do, and in some ways we don't. Again, a lot's going on within each of us under the radar. So just as perhaps we've become a little numb to what's happening in our conscience, I think we may also become a little numb to how much we are interested in purity. We like pure intentions. We want to trust each other. So I think there is an interest in purity, but we also feel a little bit bad about it, because in some ways we're aware that we lost that purity, that self-respect. So it's very mixed feelings, I think, for many around the purity towards the self. When it comes to things, we want things to be pure. We like pure food and pure water. We love it. But when it comes to the self, we maybe have mixed feelings.
So this aspect of ego, not for us to go into the depths of ego, I think everyone knows very well about how ego operates, but of the courage to be able to let go of a short-term means of happiness and power. What do you feel is required to be able to do that? Because I feel that many find it's quite fearful to have to challenge that inside themselves.
The short answer is self-respect. I would need self-respect in order to not succumb to ego, which is at the other end of the continuum. Of course, that's the whole journey of spirituality, is a journey towards self-respect. So it's short answer, but a bit of a long journey. And the idea that this is the ultimate function, really, of the Supreme Soul, who, I sort of refer to as the value maker. That I want a connection to that being, because that being can really nurture the self-respect in the soul. Nothing external can do that, because I don't want my self-respect to be based on external validation.
So maybe a final question. We are having to abbreviate tonight's interview, but the relationship between self-respect and soul consciousness.
So there's two choices we have. I can think I'm the soul, the living being, who's eternal, independent of the body, or I can think I am the body. So the moment that I think I am the body, I become sensitive to the features of the body, the relationships of the body, a whole story in the physical world that's defined relative to the body. So now my sense of value is also invested in those various aspects of the body and everything relative to the body. But those things are all going to change. Everything physical always changes. So if my identity and sense of value is in the body, and the body is going to change, how will that make me feel? So we see a huge industry just around the body, because we've invested so much of our sense of self and therefore value. And the same applies to relationships and possessions and position, status. So much of our day is consumed by thinking about these things. And of course, our choices or actions are shaped by these things. And then soul consciousness says, you are independent of the body. You are an eternal being. Nothing here belongs to you, but the things that are most precious are actually inside of you. What you're made of, these things we call qualities or values. So we are valuable. So we experience ourselves in a qualitative way. And these things travel with me. They're who I actually am. So now I'm having a sense of value that's actually based on myself, not on things external to me. So that's self-respect.
I feel if anything, it always inspires us. We want to be able to feel that, practically speaking.
It requires letting go of so much. So this is why I need to be experiencing it, so I can have the courage to let go.
Well, once again, we mentioned we had to abbreviate tonight's session, but we certainly don't want to miss this opportunity as well. So we welcome souls. If you ever have any topics, questions, please let us know. We'll have a little reflection.
For actions to be true, I, the actor, performing the actions, I have to be in a true place, an authentic state of self. Very real, not based on any image, any show. And that requires an intentional, conscious focus inwards, completely on the self. I, the actor in this costume, I am independent I am the subtle being inside. And within me is the power of truth, the power of purity, the power of love, the power of happiness. It's been a very long time that I have identified myself with the body. It's become familiar, sometimes feeling real. It will require incredible patience and determination to reconnect my sense of self with the truth, that which is eternal, that I am a soul. Breathing life into those words, I am a soul, independent of this body. I am the source of qualities, of values, of virtues. I am the one that brings value to life, to the outer world. Not that I get my value from the outer world. I give, I do not take. And that act of giving is a true action. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you for joining with us this evening. So I can't think of any particularly new sessions that are coming up, but we hope to inform the public of some upcoming public programs that are happening. But once we can finalize those details, we will make sure that we send the email out as well. It'll be on the website as well. So please do visit the website, and we always encourage the on-site or online drop-ins, the drop-in meditation sessions. That's really where it's at in terms of experiencing what is covered in these interviews. Thank you for joining. Shanti.